Welcome to Every Mom is an Athlete, the podcast where we believe motherhood is inherently athletic. From lifting car seats to chasing toddlers, your daily life is a workout. I'm Dr. Karlie, pregnancy and postpartum expert, sports chiropractor, strength coach, and mom of three. This is your space for strength, recovery, and real talk in pregnancy, postpartum, and motherhood. Welcome, strong moms. You're in the right place. Welcome back, strong moms, to Every Mom is an Athlete. Today, we're continuing our postpartum pain series where we talk about aches and pains that moms experience after having a baby and actually what's going on in the body and what you can do about it. I'm really excited for today's episode because we are going to talk about some of the weird, quote unquote, postpartum pains that I hear about in my office. So not like pelvic floor pain or low back pain or even neck pain, which are really super common, but more random things like shoulder pain, wrist and elbow pain, and even pain where your epidural was placed if you had an epidural. And lots of moms are confused about these, especially in early postpartum, I think because we're just so sleep deprived and, we're like, oh, we have this brand new baby. We're doing all the things. We're feeding them. We're keeping them alive. And we're like, why in the world does my wrist hurt so bad? And so there are some very real reasons that these show up. And so we're going to go over those and how you can also help resolve or at least alleviate some of these issues. Now, we have to start by remembering what our body has gone through throughout the pregnancy, so for 9 months, and then through that newly postpartum phase. There's so many factors going on. We have to look at hormones. So we have relaxin still in our system. We have these hormonal shifts that are affecting our ligaments and our joint stability. So I always tell patients in my office, and this is very anecdotal actually, but what I have seen over years and years of working with pregnant and postpartum patients, and also in my own 3 births, is that right around the 9-month mark, a lot of women sort of turn this corner and they start to feel a lot more like themselves. If you're still breastfeeding or pumping, you are still going to have some of those hormonal changes happening. So you're still going to have some of that relaxin in your system. So I always just warn people, until you're truly done breastfeeding, I don't expect my patients, I don't expect myself to feel completely stable in all of my joints. Now, you can get pretty close. I think, again, anecdotally, I think that people get to about 90%, 85%, especially that's what I noticed during my 3 postpartum experiences. But that last little bit comes a few months after you're actually done nursing, because then your body really can start to stabilize again. Other factors that are affecting these sort of weird pains can be repetitive movements that are new, right? So holding the baby, rocking the baby, carrying the car seat. If you're co-sleeping, you might end up kind of like arm wrapped around the baby a little bit. These different positions that are very repetitive that you might have not been used to before. It's for the same reason I see women that have pretty bad tailbone pain after giving birth, even though it has nothing to do with the birth. It's from sitting so much. We sit so much more in that early postpartum phase. And so for them, I'm always telling them to change your position, right? Sit on a ball, sit on a chair, support your low back, switch up the position on the couch or even the spot on the couch you're sitting. Now I'm off on a tangent, but it makes sense. We're doing all these things very repetitively that maybe we weren't doing before. You also have to remember that sleep deprivation and fatigue really play into this as well. Our bodies are not going to recover as fast and as well when we are exhausted. And that's okay. It's just something to keep in mind that things are going to take a little bit longer to heal. I tell all my patients that come back to me after having their babies postpartum to make an hour-long appointment as a new patient, because you basically have an entirely new body. You have a whole new set of like jobs and chores that you're doing that you weren't doing before. And so it really does deserve some respect and evaluation. And we have to take all these things into consideration. Okay, so let's get into some of the specific things. So shoulder pain, very common from breastfeeding posture, whether you're pumping, carrying the baby on one side, holding your baby for a long time. What happens is, again, you get kind of that rounded forward position. That's going to close down the already small shoulder joint where your little tendons wrap through. That can irritate the rotator cuff. It can also cause the muscles on the backside near your shoulder blades to be stretched and weakened. And then we also end up, especially with our traps kind of work like a pulley. So the traps are, the muscles right up on the very top of your shoulders, but then they go down like in a V, like a big V basically to the middle of your back. And so what happens is if the upper traps are really tight, they're going to inhibit the lower portion of the trap. So what we want to do is start activating that lower portion of the trap, sort of like down in between the shoulder blades. And that can also help decrease that like tightness in the upper traps. It's going to help them calm down a little bit. But now I'm getting into what you should do. We're not there yet. We're not there yet, Karlie. So other things you can do, of course, upper back strengthening, as I mentioned, switching sides when you're carrying the baby and just setting yourself up into a better position when you're feeding. So making sure that you have good posture, that you're not like curling over the baby, that your arm is supported. And then also spending some time opening up through the chest and through your upper back. So stretching out your pecs on the front, foam rolling your upper back, just kind of trying to get some of that extension instead of being flexed forward, like hunched over the baby. So one of the most common things I see actually postpartum, and I try to warn all my patients in my office about this, and we try to start some strengthening before the baby actually comes, but is wrist and elbow pain. So you might have heard this called like mommy thumb, mommy wrist. The actual name for that thumb pain is called de Quervain's tendinitis, but you can also get it all the way up. Those same muscles go up into your elbow. So you can also get like a tennis elbow or a golfer's elbow type of situation just from the extreme tightness of holding a baby all day long. A lot of the moms I see with this will report that they have pain like picking up their baby underneath the arms or with their thumbs like spread out wide or gripping, lots of repetitive gripping. And elbow pain is sort of similar. So carrying like the car seat, holding the baby with a bent wrist. So like if your wrist is bent around them or just kind of constantly gripping. And I actually had this with, oh my gosh, I can't remember which kid it was now. Was it the first? Was it the second? I think it was this. I had it a little bit with my first, but then I was doing my exercises and I kind of kept it at bay. I think with my second, I got to about the 8 or 9 week mark and I was feeling pretty good. And I had been doing my strengthening, my wrist strengthening, and then I stopped. And then like 2 or 3 weeks later, I had such severe thumb pain and it got worse and worse. And I actually did end up getting a cortisone injection into my left thumb because I could just barely pick up my son. And I hear this from other moms in my office that they just have so much pain. They feel like they can't even pick up their baby. They feel like unsafe because they might drop them because it hurts so bad. So there's lots of things you can think about here. Holding a neutral wrist position when you're lifting the baby. So making sure that you're not like crunching and wrapping your hands up and flexing them in, if that makes sense. I'm like doing it, but I can't really explain that very well. There's also some forearm strengthening you can do to work on your grip on both sides. So both your flexors and your extensors on both sides of your forearm. And sometimes a brace honestly can be really helpful. I've had many women use wrist braces just for a little while to decrease some of the tension and inflammation so that they can do some of the strengthening, do some of the stuff that they need to do to get rid of this pain. And at the extreme, like I said, I did get a cortisone injection. I'm a chiropractor, so I am like the last one who wants to shoot cortisone, a steroid into your joints. But there is a time and a place for it. And for me, that was the time to like cut that inflammation, stop that cycle, and then I could actually do the rehab that I needed to do. But lots of times muscle work will help with this too. So if you have a chiropractor, a PT, a massage therapist who does muscle work for you, you can have them work on your forearms and that will also alleviate a lot of that tension and pulling sort of from the belly of the muscle down into your wrist or into your elbow. I've also found that kinesiotaping can be really helpful for patients. So you can look that up and see how to do that. I even have some videos on it. That can just make it manageable so that you have a little bit of support and it can decrease some of the tension through the wrist. Okay, this is a weird one, but I hear about this a lot is epidural site pain. What happens here is you get tenderness on that epidural site because the needle goes through so many layers of tissue. And so you get kind of this local inflammatory response. You can get some bruising. Also, the muscles around it can guard because there has been like a little small injury or trauma there, right? Most women, it gets better over a few weeks to a few months. And sometimes I hear women say that it's epidural site pain or it's like right where they put in the needle. Often once we get back there and start looking around, I do find that it's not necessarily that. It's that maybe the muscles are guarded, but it's because their core is weak. It's because they haven't done much core strengthening yet. And so they have all these postural changes that are happening. They're lifting their baby. They've got these hormones going on. And so it just kind of creates a snowball effect of like now their low back is spasming. It's trying to stabilize them. And so what we need to do is start rebuilding and strengthening. And that often will help. It sounds sort of counterintuitive, but actually using those muscles the way that they're meant to be used. And then also strengthening the deep core muscles on the front side can be super helpful. If you haven't done any core rehab, of course, I have to mention that I have a postpartum plan that thousands of women have gone through at this point, including me 3 times. There is a C-section edition, which I did after my second son was born and developed when he was born via planned C-section. And so look into that if you haven't done anything. It's a full body plan. It's 8 weeks long, takes about 20, 25 minutes a day with very minimal equipment. And I just cannot stress how much better your body will feel once you start rebuilding the core, the glutes, strengthening your upper back, and spending your time doing things that are actually going to move the needle instead of like just, throwing things at the wall, foam rolling this and doing that exercise you see online. Like, get a plan. Doesn't have to be mine, but get a plan and you will see such better improvement in a lot of these issues. So the biggest takeaways I want you to hear from this are that there are all kinds of weird things that happen postpartum, obviously, as we know, but you're not imagining it. Your body is changing, adapting. These hormonal shifts, the sleep deprivation, the change in physical activity, all of these things put a real demand on our bodies as mothers. But the good news is a lot of these things will improve significantly if we can make some postural changes, we can improve our movement patterns, we can add some strength training. You'll really be surprised how quickly you can begin to feel better. But remember, every mom is an athlete and we are athletes. We need the right support to stay strong and pain-free and to show up for our families. I hope this was helpful. Please share with your other mama friends who are trying to figure out this new postpartum world. I just hope that it can help more women feel better and get back to doing the things that they love. All right, until next time. Thanks for listening. Every Mom is an Athlete isn't just a podcast. It's a reminder that you're still the athlete you've always been. If this episode resonated with you, I'd so appreciate it if you'd share with a friend or leave a quick review. It helps more moms find the support and information they need. See you next time.